Hello everyone and welcome to Foundation of Project Management course. Now think about any successful project launch, construction project, software rollout, marketing campaign or even business event. None of this becomes successful just because someone had a good idea. They become successful because there is a clear plan, the right people are working together and deadlines are being tracked, risks are being handled and someone is making sure that the entire project stays on the right path. That is exactly where project management comes in. And this skill is even becoming more important than ever. According to PMI's Global Project Management Talent Gap 2025 report, there are around 39.6 million project professionals worldwide today. And global demand for project talent cloud grew by 64% from 2025 to 2035. And the same report says that the world could face a shortage of up to 29.8 million qualified project professionals by 2035. This shows that project management is not just a useful skill, it is becoming a major career opportunity. In this course, we will build your foundation in project management step by step. You will understand what project management is, why it matters, and how projects are managed in real-world situations. We will explore the role of project manager, the skills needed to lead a project, and how project managers communicate, coordinate, solve problems, manage risk, and keep teams aligned. You will also learn the complete project lifecycle from initiation and planning to execution, monitoring, and closure. Along the way, we will discuss how to define project scope, set clear goals, identify deliverables, manage timelines, and understand different project management methodologies used by organizations. Now, by the end of this course, you will not just know project management terms, you will understand how projects actually work and how decisions are made. But before we move on, let me share something exciting with you guys. If you are serious about building a strong career in project management, then PMP certification training in collaboration with Simplilearn can be a great next step for you. This course is designed to help you understand project management in practical, structured, and exam-focused way. You will learn important concepts like project planning, work breakdown structures, resource allocation, Gantt chart, risk and issue management, stakeholder communication, cost and budget planning, schedule management, agile and hybrid delivery, leadership, governance, and value-based project delivery. Now, what makes this course even more useful is that it also covers modern project management skills like Gen AI in project management, sustainability, business value, and real-world decision-making. So whether you are a project manager, team lead, software developer, project executive, engineer, or someone who wants to move into project management, this course can help you build the confidence, structure, and skills needed to manage projects better and grow in your career. So without any further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome to Foundation of Project Management course. Project management is the discipline of planning, executing, and overseeing projects, ensuring that they are completed within scope, on time, and within budget. It involves coordinating people, resources, and tasks to achieve specific goals while managing risk and stakeholder expectations. Now, in today's competitive and fast-paced business environment, effective project management is more crucial than ever. With industries evolving and expanding, the demand for skilled project managers is skyrocketing. Organizations across various sectors from technology to healthcare are actively seeking professionals who can drive successful projects and making project management as one of the most booming and rewarding fields to work in. This course is divided into 7 modules, each designed to provide you with structured understanding of the core principle of project management. Starting with an introduction to the field, you will learn about the essential skills, processes, and techniques needed to manage projects effectively. As you progress through the modules, you will explore topics such as project scope, planning, execution, and closure, with practical insights and strategies to navigate the challenges that arise in real-world projects. By the end of this course, you will have a solid foundation in project management, equipped with the knowledge and skills to successfully lead projects and contribute to organizational success. So without wasting any time, let us move to the module 1. In this course, we are going to build a strong foundation in project management from the ground up. By the end of this course, learner will understand what is a project management, why is it important, and how it helps organizations complete work in a structured and successful way. We will explore the role of a project manager, including how they plan, coordinate, communicate, manage risk, and keep teams aligned. You will also understand the complete project lifecycle from initiation and planning to execution, monitoring, and closure. Along with this, we will learn how to define project scope, goals, deliverables so that project has a clear direction. Finally, we will look at project project execution, and common project management methodologies, helping learners understand how different approaches can be used to manage project effectively in real-world situations. When people first hear the word project, they often imagine something very formal, very large, or something that only happens in big companies. But basically, a project is much simpler than that. A project is a temporary effort taken up to create something specific. That something could be a product, a service, or a process, or an event, or even an improvement. The key point here is that a project is not an ongoing process. It has a clear start, a clear purpose, and a clear finish. So for example, a team is building a new website for a company. That is a project. If a hospital is setting up a new patient management system, that is also a project. If a college is launching a new online certification program, again, that is a project. In all these cases, the work is being done for a specific outcome, and once that outcome is achieved, the project ends. Now this becomes easier to understand when we compare a project with a regular day-to-day work. In an organization, a lot of work is repetitive. For example, processing payroll every month, handling customer support every day, or running the same production line continuously. These are all the operational activities. They are important, but they are not projects because they do not have a temporary nature. They keep going. A project, on the other hand, is unique in some way. Even if two projects look similar from outside, they will still have some different goals, stakeholders, budget, timeline, or execution. So basically, a project is something temporary and a goal-driven, while operations are continuous and repetitive. The distinction is important because it helps us understand why projects need a different style of planning and control. Now, once we understand what a project is, the next important concept is project management. So what does that actually mean? Project management is the structured process of planning, organizing, leading, monitoring, and completing a project so that the intended objective is achieved. In very simple words, project management is how we make sure a project does not become a mess, because whenever multiple people, deadline, task, budget, and expectations come together, things can be easily go off track. Project management brings order into that complexity. It helps team decide what needs to be done, who will do it, what should happen next, and what resources are needed, what risk may come up, and how progress will be tracked. So basically, project management is not just about doing work, it's about doing the right work in the right order, with the right resources, and in a way that leads to a successful outcome. Now, many beginners assume that project management is only about making schedules or using tools like Excel, Jira, or Gantt charts, but actually it is much broader than that. A project manager or even a project-oriented team has to think about communication, team alignment, stakeholder expectations, problem solving, risk handling, decision making, quality, and business value. So yes, planning matters, but people matter just as much. A project can even fail without a good timeline if the team is confused, if the stakeholders are misaligned, or if the expectations are not properly managed. That is why project management is both a technical discipline and a people discipline. It is not only about system and task, it is also about leadership, coordination, and adaptability. Now, moving ahead, one of the most common areas of confusion in this topic is difference between a project, a program, and a portfolio. So these three terms sound related because they are actually related, but are not interchangeable. Let us start with the project, which we already discussed. A project is one temporary effort with a defined goal. Now, a program is a group of related objects that are managed together because they contribute to a larger benefit. For example, imagine a company wants to fully modernize its digital system. One project could be redesigning the website, another could be implementing a CRM system, another could be training staff on a new software, and another could be moving data to the cloud. Each of these is a separate project, but together they support one larger organizational transform. The larger coordinated effort is a program. Now let us go to one level higher. A portfolio is the complete collection of projects, programs, and initiatives that an organization manages in line with the strategic goal. So basically, while a project focuses on delivering a specific output and a program focuses on coordinating related projects, a portfolio focuses on choosing and balancing the right investment. For example, a company may have one program for a digital transformation, another for a product innovation, and several individual projects in HR, finance, or market. All of these together make up the portfolio. Portfolio management is more strategic. It asks questions like which project should we fund, which initiative align most closely with our business goals, which efforts bring the highest value. So in a simple way, you can think of it like a project is one effort, a program is a cluster of connected efforts, and a portfolio is the overall basket of the effort across the organization. Now that we understood these three layers, let us look at the core characteristic of the project. This is important because once you know the characteristic, you can quickly identify project type, work in any environment. First, a project is temporary. This means it has a beginning and an end. It does not meant to be continued forever. Second, it is unique. Even if a smaller work has been done before, each project has something distinct about it, whether it's objective, the team, the stakeholders, or the situation. Third, every project has a defined objective. There is some result that the team is trying to achieve. Fourth, project work within constraint. There is a limited time, limited budget, limited people, and limited resource. Fifth, project involves uncertainty. No matter how much planning is done, there will be always some of the unknown changes or risk. And finally, the project usually involves cross-functional collaboration, meaning people from different team or skill areas often have to work together. Basically, projects are goal-focused, time-bound, resource-limited, and uncertain by nature. Now, this naturally leads to an important question. If projects already have goals and teams, why is project management so important in modern organization? Why can we not just assign tasks and let people figure it out? The answer is that modern organizations operate in a fast-moving and interconnected environment. Deadlines are tighter, customers expect more, markets shift quickly, technology changes fast, and business are under constant pressure to innovate and to perform. In such an environment, informal coordination is usually not enough. Without project management, teams may duplicate work, miss deadlines, overspend, misunderstand priorities, or deliver something that does not even solve the real problem. Project management helps reduce that confusion. It creates clarity around the goals, ownership, timelines, and dependencies, and success measures. It also improves accountability because everyone knows what they are responsible for. So basically, project management matters today because organization cannot afford randomness anymore. Think about a product launch. If the product team, marketing team, finance team, and operation team are not aligned, the launch can even fail even if the product itself is very good. Or think about a construction project. If a procurement delays happen, labor planning is weak, or compliance approval are missed, cost can rise and deadline can slip badly. So project management is important not because organization want extra documentation, but because they want smoother execution, better visibility, less waste, and more predictable results. It gives organization a structured way to move from idea to action to outcome. And when we talk about project, it is also useful to understand that they exist in almost every industry, not just IT. In information technology, projects include software development, mobile app launches, cloud migration, AI implementation, cybersecurity upgrades, and data platform setup. In construction, projects include building roads, offices, homes, malls, bridges, or factories. In healthcare, project can involve opening a new clinic, deploying new medical equipment, patient records, or running a vaccination campaign. In education, it may include a new course, implementing a learning management system, or hosting a national academic event. In marketing, projects include a brand campaigns, product launch, ad creative revamps, and even website redesign. In manufacturing, project can include automation setup, new plant installation, or supply chain transformation. So basically, projects are everywhere. Once you start noticing them, you realize that project management is not a niche skill, it is a universal business skill. Now, one of the most foundational ideas in project management is the idea of constraint, often explained through three major constraints: scope, time, and cost. These are sometimes called the triple constraint. Scope refers to what the project is supposed to deliver, time refers to the schedule or the deadline, and cost refers to the budget available for the work. At first, these sound like simple planning elements, but they actually are deeply connected. If the project scope increases, then either more time or more budget is usually needed. If the timeline becomes shorter, then either the scope has to be reduced, team needs more resource, which may increase the cost. If the budget is cut, then maybe the project cannot deliver the same scope within the same deadline. So basically, one of the biggest responsibility in project management is maintaining balances among all these three constraints. This is where the reality comes in. In many projects, stakeholder may ask things like, can we add one more feature? Can we finish this 2 weeks earlier? Or can we do this in the same budget? And individually, each request may sound small, but collectively, they can affect the project in a bigger way. That is why project management requires not just coordination, but judgment. Sometimes someone has to understand trade-off. Someone has to ask, if we change this, what else will change? So project management is not just task tracking, it is decision making under constraint. Now, even if project has goals and constraint, then what actually makes a project successful? A lot of people think success simply means finishing up on time and within budget. And yes, those are important indicators, but real project success is broader than that. A project is successful when it delivers the intended value, meets stakeholder expectations, achieves the desired objective, and does so with acceptable quality. For example, imagine a software project that launches exactly on schedule and within budget, but users find it confusing and do not adopt. Technically, it may look successful on the paper, but practically it has failed to deliver value. On the other hand, imagine a project that takes slightly longer than expected, but solves a major business problem and satisfies customer. That may still has to be seen as successful depending on the situation. So basically, project success is not about only efficiency, it is about effectiveness. Did the project deliver what truly mattered? Did it solve the right problem? Did stakeholder feel confident and supported? Was the quality acceptable? Was the team able to adapt to the challenges? These questions matters a lot. Success in project management is often a combination of delivering performance, business value, stakeholder satisfaction, and learning. In mature organization, even lesson learned from a project becomes a part of success because they help future project perform better. Now let us talk about some of the common myths around project management, because these myths can create a wrong mindset in the beginning. One myth is that project management is only for big companies and large budget. That is not true. Even a small internal initiative can benefit from a project management thinking. Another myth is that project managers only make presentation, status reports and timeline. In reality, the work is much more dynamic. They manage uncertainty, resolve conflicts, align people, track progress, communicate updates, anticipate problems, and help teams stay focused. Another important myth is that once a plan is created, the project will simply follow it. But honestly, projects really move in a perfect straight line. Changes happen, priorities shift, risk appears, and assumptions get challenged. A good project manager does not blindly follow a plan. They manage change intelligently. There's also a myth that project management slows things down because too much of process. Now, this can happen if the process is unnecessary or badly designed, but proper project management actually saves time. It prevents rework, confusion, and misalignment. It reduces the chance of team moving in different directions. So basically, project management is not bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy. When done well, it brings focus and speed, not delays. And finally, before going into methodology, tools, phases, or framework, it is important to build a project management mindset. This mindset is what separates someone who is just doing tasks from someone who is managing outcomes. A project management mindset means thinking ahead. It means asking not only what do I do next, but also what are we doing for, what is the goal, who is affected, what could go wrong, what do we need to prepare for. It means being organized without being rigid. It means being detail aware while still keeping the bigger picture in mind. So basically, the project management mindset is about clarity, accountability, planning, communication, adaptability, and value creation. It is about understanding that every task connects to a larger objective. It's about realizing that successful projects do not happen by luck. They happen because the people think clearly, coordinate carefully, and respond wisely. The mindset is valuable not only for project managers, but also for the team members, team leads, business analysts, product team, and really anyone who works in a goal-driven environment. Now coming to the tool and technique. So the common tools is Excel, Jira, Gantt chart. Now importance of people management is communication, team alignment, stakeholder, and management. So now that we are done with module 1, where we built a strong foundation by understanding what a project is, what project management means, how projects are different from programs portfolio, and why project management matters in modern organization. Moving ahead, let us step to the module 2, which is all about a very important question: what does a project manager actually do? Because honestly, this is the point where many learners become curious. We hear the term project manager all the time, but what does this person really handle in day-to-day work? Is a project manager just someone who makes timeline and conduct meetings, or is the role much broader than that? So in this module, basically, we are going to understand all these questions in detail. What responsibility they handle, what skills they need, and how they differ from other roles, and why they are such a critical part of successful project execution. So let us begin with the most basic question: who is a project manager? So a project manager is the person responsible for guiding a project from beginning to end. In simple words, this is a person who helps turn plan into reality in an organized way. A project manager is not just always the technical expert doing every task with their own hands, and they're also not just an administrator who keeps checking status updates. Their role is much more central than that. They are the ones who connect the business goal, the team effort, the deadlines, the stakeholders, and the final outcome. So basically, a project manager is the person who keeps the project moving in the right direction while balancing people, priorities, risk, and expectations. Now, to understand this role more clearly, let us talk about the core responsibility of a project manager. A project manager begins by understanding what the project is supposed to achieve. That means they need clarity on the goal, the scope, the timeline, the budget, and the people involved. Once that is understood, they help create a plan. This includes breaking down the work into manageable pieces, assigning responsibilities, setting deadlines, identifying dependencies, and making sure the team knows what success looks like. But their role does not stop at planning only. During execution, they monitor progress, solve issues, coordinate with stakeholders, manage risk, track timelines, and make sure communication keeps flowing. And finally, when the work is completed, they help close the project properly by checking deliverables, collecting feedback, documenting learnings, and ensuring the project outcome is handed over smoothly. So basically, a project manager is involved across the full project life cycle, not just in one part of it. If we go a little deeper, we can say that project manager has to wear many hats. At one moment, they may be planning work. At another moment, they may be resolving a team conflicts. They may have to explain a delay to stakeholder, review risk, handle sudden scope changes, or make quick decision when something goes wrong. This is why the role is often dynamic and is demanding. Now, he has to stay organized, but at the same time, flexible. They have to think ahead, but also respond calmly when unexpected things happen. So moving ahead, the next question is, what skills are required to become a project manager? Now, a successful project manager needs a combination of practical, strategic, and interpersonal skills. First of all, they need planning skills because projects do not move forward successfully without a clear roadmap. They need communication skills because so much of project works depend on how clearly information is shared within the team, clients, and stakeholders. They need organizational skills because they are often handling multiple tasks, update risk, and timelines at the same time. They also need time management because deadlines are always part of project work. On the top of that, they need critical thinking, adaptability, negotiation, ability, and the confidence to make decisions. So basically, being a project manager is not just about knowing the project terms, it's about being able to handle structured work in real challenging environment. Now, this brings us to an important distinction: technical skills versus soft skills. A lot of learners assume that project manager only needs soft skills like communication and leadership. Others think they mostly need technical skills like tools, dashboard, scheduling, and reporting. But the truth is, both matters. Technical skills help a project manager understand how to plan work, estimate efforts, manage scope, track progress, use project management software, interpret project date, maintain documentation. These are all the structured skills of the role. But soft skills are equally important and in many cases even more important. Why? Because projects are run by people. A project manager has to influence without always having the formal authority, communicate across teams, manage expectations, resolve misunderstanding, and motivate team members and stay calm under pressure. So basically, technical skill help a project manager manage the process, while soft skill help them manage people and situation. Now let us understand this with a simple example. Imagine a project manager who is excellent at creating timeline, reports and trackers but struggle to communicate clearly or handle conflict. That project may still suffer because the team may feel confused or disconnected. On the other hand, imagine someone who is very friendly and motivating but has no control over deadline, risk or scope changes. That project may also fail because structure is missing. So good project manager needs both sides, the discipline of the execution and the human side of the collaboration. This balance is what makes the role effective in real organization. Now let us move into another important idea, leadership versus management in project work. These two words are often used together, but they are not exactly the same. Management is about planning, organizing, controlling, and making sure work is executed. Leadership, on the other hand, is about influence, direction, motivation, and trust. In a project, both are needed. A project manager has to manage the schedule, the budget, the task, and the resource, but they also need to lead people through uncertainty, change, pressures, and collaboration. So basically, the management keeps the structure in place, while leadership keeps the team moving with confidence and purpose. This distinction matters a lot because project often involve situations where there is no perfect answer. Team may face stress, shifting, unclear requirement or stakeholder pressure. In such moment, only management is not enough. A project manager must also act like a leader. They need to listen, guide, reassure and help people stay focused. Now, they may not always have direct authority over every team member, but through communication, trust and clarity, they can create alignment. There are also a steady presence who help the people move forward in the team without any difficulty. Now, one of the biggest part in project work is decision making and problem solving. And honestly, projects really move in perfectly straight line. Issues can come up, a task may take longer than expected, a team member may become unavailable, a client may suddenly change a requirement, a vendor may delay delivery, a technical dependency may fail. So the project manager must constantly assess the situation, understand the impact and make practical decisions. Now, a good decision making in project is not about guessing. It's about gathering the right information, understanding trade-offs, considering the risk, and then choosing the best possible path based on the situation. Problem solving is also deeply connected to this. A project manager cannot panic every time an issue happens. They need to approach problem. First, they need to understand the issue. Second, they need to identify. Third, look at the possible option. Fourth, decide on most realistic situation. And finally, communicate the plan and follow through. So basically, project managers are not expected to prevent every problem from ever happening, but they are expected to respond to problem in a calm way. That ability creates confidence within the team. Now let us clear up another area where learners often get confused. Project manager versus product manager. These roles sound similar, but they focus on different things. A project manager focuses on delivering a project successfully. Their attention is on timeline, scope, coordination, risk, budget, resource, and execution. A product manager, on the other hand, focuses on product itself, what should be built, why it matters, what user needs, how the product creates values, and how it should evolve over time. So basically, the project manager focuses on how and when the work gets delivered, while the product manager focuses more on what should be built and why it matters. For example, in a software company launching a new feature, the product manager may define the feature requirement based on the user need and business goal. Then the project manager may then coordinate with the team, schedule stakeholders, and execution needs to launch that feature properly. In some organizations, these roles may overlap slightly, especially in smaller teams, but their core focus is different. One is delivery oriented and other one is value and product oriented. Understanding this difference is important because many people mix the project role with the product role. Now let us compare the project manager and the operation manager. So the difference connects nicely to what we learned in module 1 about project versus operation. A project manager handles temporary goal-based effort with a defined beginning and end. An operation manager, on the other hand, handles ongoing repetitive business activities that keep the organization running. For example, a project manager may oversee the launch of new warehouse, while an operation manager ensures that the warehouse runs smoothly every day after the system is live. So basically, project manager creates or change something, while operation manager maintain and optimize ongoing work. Next, let us look at project manager versus team lead. This is another comparison that confuses many learners because in some companies, these roles may work very closely together. A team lead is usually responsible for guiding the members of a specific team, often from a functional or technical perspective. For example, a development team lead may guide developers, review code, support technical decision, and help distribute work within the development team. A project manager, however, looks across the whole project. They coordinate multiple teams, align timelines, manage dependencies, communicate with stakeholders, and keep the overall project on track. So basically, we can say a team lead is often more focused on one's team performance and execution, while a project manager focuses on coordination of the full project across teams and function. A team lead may ask, how do we complete our part well? A project manager may ask, how do all the parts come together successfully? Both roles are important, but the level of focus is different. One is narrower and the team is centered, while other is broader and project centered. Now, to make all of this feel more real, let us look at the day in a life of a project manager. No 2 days are exactly the same, and this is the reason why this role feels dynamic. A project manager may start the day by checking progress updates, reviewing the task board, and looking at any urgent issues. Then they may join a team stand-up meeting to understand blockers, priorities, and next step. After that, they may work on updating the timeline, speaking with stakeholders, clarifying requirements, or following up on dependencies. At some point, they may even have to deal with a risk that has suddenly become real, like a delayed vendor or unplanned scope request. Then may prepare reports, conduct reviews, meeting, align teams, and make sure everyone knows what is needed next. But if we look beyond the meetings and trackers, the real work of a project manager is often about maintaining momentum. They are constantly checking, is the project moving? Is the team clear? Are the risk under control? Is anything slipping silently? So basically, the day of a project manager is a mix of communication, coordination, problem solving. Now, one more important question remains is, how do project managers add value to the organization? This is important because organizations do not hire project managers just to schedule meeting or track tasks. They hire them because project managers improve the chances of successful delivery. A good project manager brings clarity when the things are unclear. They bring structure when the work becomes scattered. They improve communication between the teams and the stakeholder. They help reduce waste by identifying issues early. They protect timelines and budget by managing changes properly. Now that we are done with module 2, where we understood who is a project manager, what a project manager does, what responsibility this role carries, and how a project manager helps teams and organizations deliver work in a structured way. Moving ahead, we now need to understand something equally important. A project manager may know how to guide people, handle communication, solve problems, and manage timelines. But a project still needs a proper path to move from idea to completion. And that part is what we are going to understand in this particular module 3. In this module, we will learn about the project life cycle, why it matters, what phases a project moves through, and how those phases connect with each other, and how a real project actually travels from beginning to end. So let us understand with the very first question, what is a project life cycle? Basically, the project life cycle is the full journey of a project, followed from the moment it is first identified to the moment it is formally completed. A project does not begin with everything already figured out, and it does not end just because the team stops working on it. It moves through a series of structured stages. To make this understand, let us look at one realistic example and use it throughout this module. Let us imagine a hospital wants to implement a new digital patient appointment system. Right now, appointments are being handled manually or through outdated software. Patients face delays, staff members are overloaded, records are not always organized properly, and the hospital wants to improve efficiency and patient experience. So the hospital decided to launch a new appointment system, booking system, where patient can book online, receive reminders, select doctors, and manage appointment slots. Now, this is clearly a project. It has a specific goal, it is temporary, it needs planning, it involves multiple teams, and once the system is implemented, the project will end. The importance of following a life cycle. This is a very important because many people think that once an organization has a good idea, it should just start working immediately. But in real life, that approach often creates confusion. Let us look at the hospital example. Suppose the management tells the IT team, we need a new appointment system please start building it, without first deciding what exactly the system should do, who will use it, which department will be involved, and how much money is available, how much time the hospital can give for the implementation, and whether staff training will be needed. Very quickly, problem will begin. One department may want patient reminder by SMS, another may want by email confirmations, another may want integration with doctor schedule, and another may demand mobile access. So the team may be working, but without a clear sequence, the work can become very messy. This is why following a life cycle is so important. So it helps in coordination, ensures that each phase is completed before moving to the next one. And it increases success rate. The life cycle ensures that all the aspects of the project are carefully considered and planned. So basically, the life cycle reduces confusion, improves coordination, and increases the chance of the success. It helps make sure the people are not just working hard, but working in the right order for the right outcome. Now let us look at the overview of the 5 phases of the project management. So these 5 phases are project initiation, project planning, project execution, and project monitoring and controlling, and project closing. These phases together form the complete life cycle of the project. A simple way to understand them is, first the project is identified and approved, then it is planned in detail, then the actual work is carried out. While the work is happening, it is also tracked and controlled, and finally the project is formally completed. Each phase has its own purpose and each one builds on the previous one. Now let us go one by one, starting with the project initiation. So initiation is the phase where the project is first defined at the high level. In simple words, this phase answers questions like what is a project, why it is needed, what problem are we trying to solve, who are the main stakeholders, should this project move forward at all. So in hospital example, initiation begins when the hospital leadership identify the problem with the current appointment system. During initiation, the hospital may define the objective of the new system. For example, the objective may be to reduce booking delays, improve patient convenience, and making sure doctor schedules easier to maintain, and reduces the administrative workload on the reception. The hospital may also identify the key stakeholder. These may include hospital leadership, IT teams, front desk jobs, doctor, patient service teams, and even maybe an external technology vendor. This phase may also include a rough feasibility check. Can the hospital afford this? Does it have the resources? Is this the right time? In many cases, a document like a project charter is created during this phase. Now let us move to the second phase, which is project planning. This is the phase where the broad idea becomes a detailed roadmap. If the initiation answers what and how, planning answers how, when, by whom, and with what resources. In the hospital example, now that the project has been approved, the team must decide how the new appointment system will actually be implemented. They need to define the scope. Will the system support only an online appointment booking, or will it also include automated reminders, doctor calendar, scheduling options, and cancellation handling? Will it also work for only one hospital location or multiple branches? Will patient be able to access it through website, a mobile app, or both? Then comes the timeline. How long will the requirement gathering take? How long will the design and development take? When will training happen? Then comes the budget. Will the hospital build the solution internally, buy an existing platform, or work with a vendor? What is the cost? Then comes the resource planning. Who will gather requirement? Who will test the system? Who will approve the final workflow? What department needs training? Then the team look at the risk. This is when the vendor begins the setup. Now let us move into the third phase, which is project execution. This phase is where actual work begins. In the hospital example, this is where the systems start getting built or configured. If a vendor is involved, this is when the vendor begins the setup. If there is an in-house IT team, this is where they start development. The patient booking screens are designed, appointment workflows are configured, and reminder systems are connected. Doctor schedules are mapped, databases are updated, but execution is not just task completion, it is also about coordination. For example, the IT team may need constant input from hospital staff to understand scheduling realities. Now, while execution is going on, another phase works side by side, and that is project monitoring and controlling. This phase is extremely important because project rarely moves exactly according to the plan. while that work is happening, someone has to continuously check whether the project is still on the track. In the hospital example, monitoring and controlling means the project manager and key stakeholders keep reviewing whether the system development is happening on the schedule, whether the budget is still under control, whether the features being built match the unapproved, and whether any new risk or delays are appearing. For example, suppose the original plan said the appointment reminder would be completed by the third week, but now it is getting delayed because the SMS integration is not working properly. That is something that must be monitored. Suppose a department suddenly requests an additional features like allowing emergency appointment prioritization. A very simple way to explain this is execution is doing the work and monitoring and controlling is making sure the work is still moving in the right direction. Without this phase, teams may continue working while problems quietly become bigger. So this phase protects time, cost, equality and scope by ensuring the project does not drift away from its goal. Now moving to the final phase, which is project closing. This is the phase where the project is formally completed. In the hospital example, project closing happens when the digital appointment system has been built, tested, approved and successfully rolled out. But closing is not just a matter of saying the system is live. It is a formal wrap-up stage. The hospital may conduct final acceptance check, leadership may approve the completed system, and staff training may be completed. User documentation may be handed over. Support team may be prepared to handle issues after launch. Now let us talk about the input and output of each phase, because this helps us understand that each phase does not work alone. Each phase receives something and then produces something useful for the next phase. In project initiation, the input is usually a business need, a problem, opportunity. In project planning, the input is that approved project ideas and high-level objective. The output are much more detailed. These may include project scope, schedule, budget, resource plan, risk plan, communication plan, and implementation roadmap. In project execution, the input are all those plans. The output are the actual deliverables, system design, configured workflows, user screen, reminder setup, testing results, and trained staff. In monitoring and controlling, the input are the original plans plus actual project performance data. The output may include progress reports, issues, logs, change requests, revised schedules, corrective actions, and updated risk responses. So basically, every phase produces something meaningful that helps the next phase move forward. Now let us understand how phases are connected. This is very important because the phases are not isolated chapters, they are deeply connected. If the initiation is weak, the project starts with poor clarity. This means planning may also become weak. If planning is weak, execution may become very confusing because teams will not know exactly what to do or how to coordinate. If execution is happening but nobody is monitoring progress, delays, quality issues, and scope changes may grow silently. In our hospital system, if initiation did not clearly define the main problem, planning might focus on the wrong priorities. If planning forgot to include staff training, the system might launch but people would struggle to use it. If monitoring did not catch scheduling errors during testing, the hospital might not go live with a flawed system. Now let us look at the real-world example of project moving through phases as one complete the story. The hospital first realizes that it is old appointment system and is inefficient and harming patient. That is beginning of initiation. Then the hospital defines what the new system should do, who will be involved, and how much time or budget is available. That becomes planning. After that, technical and operational teams start building, configuring, testing, and preparing the system. That is execution. While all of this is happening, the project manager tracks schedule, cost, scope, issues, and changes, and takes action whenever the project begins moving off the course. That is monitoring and controlling. Finally, the system is launched, accepted, handed over, documented, and reviewed. That is project closing. So now that we are done with module 3, where we understood how a project moves through its life cycle from initiation to closing, moving ahead, we now come up to a very important part of the project management, and that is scope. Because once a project is approved and once the life cycle is understood, the next big question becomes, what exactly are we supposed to deliver? What is included in the work and why is it not included? This is where many projects either become clear and manageable or confusing and difficult. So in this module, we will understand what project scope is, why project clarity matters so much, how goals and objective guide scope, and what deliverables and milestones are, how in scope and out of scope work should be defined, what scope creep means, why it matters, how to control it, and finally how a work breakdown structure or WBS helps us turn large work into smaller and more manageable parts. So let us begin with the very first question, which is, what is project scope? Basically, project scope is clear definition of all the work that needs to be done in order to complete the project successfully. It explains what project will deliver, what activities are required, what boundaries the project has, and what is the expected in the end. In simple words, scope answer the question, what exactly are we doing in this project? If a project life cycle tells us the journey of the project, scope tells the content of the project. It tells us what is inside that journey. So scope is not just broad idea, it is structured understanding of what work belongs to the project and what work does not. To make this easy to understand, let us look at realistic example. Let us imagine a school wants to launch a new online learning portal for students. The school wants students to log in, access lesson, download study material, and submit homework online. Teachers should be able to upload content and manage assignment. Parents may also want progress visibility. Now this is a project, and if the school simply says we need an online portal, that sounds fine at the beginning, but it is too broad. The real question is, what exactly this portal include? Will it include live classes? Will it include payment? Will it include chat between students and teacher, or will it include attendance tracking? This is where scope becomes important. Scope turns a vague idea into clear project boundary. Now let us move to the next topic, which is why scope clarity matters. This is extremely important because many project problems begin when the scope is not clear enough. If people do not have a shared understanding of what project includes, different stakeholders start assuming different things. In our school portal example, the principal may assume the portal will support online exam. Teacher may assume it will include the lesson upload and assignment tracking. Parents may expect the progress dashboard. The IT vendor may assume they only need to build login, content upload, and assignment. So everyone may be talking about the same project but imagining different result. And this is where confusion starts. So scope clarity matters because it aligns expectation, it helps the team understand what exactly they are building, it helps stakeholder know what they will receive, and it helps timeline and budget stays more realistic. It reduces rework because people are less likely to discover halfway through the project they are expecting. So basically, clear scopes give a project boundary and direction. Without scope clarity, project often suffers from misunderstanding, delays, frustration, and constant changes. Now let us talk about project goals and objective. Because scope does not exist in isolation, scope should always be connected to what the project is trying to achieve. A goal is the broader result the project wants to accomplish. An objective is more specific and measurable. So in our school portal example, the broader goal may be to improve digital learning access and to make academic resources easier to manage. The objective could be more specific, like enabling 1,000 students to access their learning material online, reducing manual assignment handle by 60%, and ensuring teachers can upload weekly content through the system. So basically, goals give the project direction and objective make that direction more actionable and reasonable. The distinction is very useful because many people casually use the words goal and objective as if they mean exactly the same thing. They are related but not identical. This leads us naturally to the next topic, SMART goal in project management. SMART is a very popular and useful framework because it helps turn vague goals into better goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. So instead of saying we want a better learning portal, which sounds broader and unclear, the school can say we want to launch a portal within 4 months that allows students to access course material, assignment, homework submission, that reduces manual academic coordination by 50%. That is much better goal because it is clearer and more practical. Let us break this down a little. Specific means the goal should clearly state what is to be done. Measurable means there should be some way to judge progress or success. Achievable means it should be realistic with the available resources and constraint. Relevant means it should matter to the actual purpose of the project and the organization. Time-bound means it should have deadline or time frame. Deliverables are the specific output or the result that a project is expected to produce. They are the things that the project team must create, complete, or provide. In our school portal example, deliverables could include student login system, teacher dashboard assignment, upload feature, download study material section, homework submission workflow, and training documentation for teachers. This is an important distinction because people often confuse tasks with deliverables. For example, designing the portal interface is a task or activity, but the completed interface design itself can be deliverable. Testing the homework submission feature is an activity, while the fully working homework submission feature is a deliverable. Now let us discuss milestones versus deliverables. A deliverable is something the project creates. A milestone is an important checkpoint or stage in the project timeline. So in the school portal project, teacher dashboard completed could be a deliverable, while the design phase approved could be milestone. Student login feature ready could be a deliverable, while the portal ready for user testing could be a milestone. So basically, deliverables are the output, while the milestones are key progress point. Milestone help team track movement across the project. They are useful because they show whether major part of the projects are being completed on time. On the other hand, deliverables show what is actually being produced. So when teaching this topic, so in simple line, deliverables are what we produce. Milestones are the important point that shows how far we have progressed. That actually makes the difference very clear. Now let us move to in-scope versus out-scope work. This is one of the practical and important part of the scope management. In-scope work include all the tasks, feature, deliverables, and activities that the project has officially agreed to complete. Out-of-scope work include anything that is not part of current project commitment. In our school portal example, maybe in-scope work includes student login, lesson access, assignment upload, and homework submission. But out-of-scope may work include live video classes, online fee payments, AI-based recommendation, and parent-teacher chat. These ideas may be useful, but they are not part of the current project. This distinction matters because projects often run into trouble when out-of-scope requests start entering the project informally. Someone can say, can we just add one small feature? Another stakeholder may say, since we are already building the portal, why not also include attendance tracking? Each request may sound small in isolation, but collectively they can increase effort, budget, and time. Now this brings us directly to the next topic, which is introduction to scope creep. Scope creep happens when the project scope gradually expands without proper evaluation, approval, or adjustment to time, cost, and resource. In simple word, it means the project keeps growing beyond what was originally agreed. In our school portal system, the project may begin with lesson access and assignment submission. Then someone asks for attendance tracking. Then another person requests parent dashboard. Then another wants exam scheduling. Then someone asks for live class integration. Before long, the original portal project starts turning into a much larger educational platform. Let us understand the causes and impact of scope creep. Scope creep usually happens for a few common reasons. One major reason is unclear scope from the beginning. If the project was not clearly defined, the people leave room for assumptions and later changes. Another reason is changing stakeholder expectations. As the people see the project develop, they start imagining more possibilities. Now, impact of scope creep can be serious. The timeline may extend, the budget may rise, the team may become overloaded. Quality may suffer because people are trying to do so much in too little time. Original priorities may become blurred. Stakeholder may become frustrated because expectations keep shifting. That leads to the next topic, which is how to control scope creep. Scope control does not mean saying no to everything. It means making sure that changes are handled in a structured and thoughtful manner. One of the best ways to control scope creep is to define the scope clearly at the beginning. Another important step is document deliverable, objective, and boundaries properly. Everyone should know what is included and what is not, and if a new request comes up, it should not automatically enter the project. It should first be evaluated. Then, what is the value of this change? How much extra time will it need? Will it increase cost? Does it affect testing, training, or launch? Should it be added now or saved for the future? So in the school example, suppose someone asks to add parent dashboard halfway through the project. Instead of immediately agreeing, the project team should review whether this new request fits the timeline, budget, and the current priorities. Now let us move to one of the most useful tools in this module, which is the work breakdown structure, or WBS. A WBS is a way of breaking the project into smaller, more manageable parts. Instead of looking at the entire project as one large and overwhelming piece of work, the WBS helps us divide it into deliverables, components, and tasks. So basically, the WBS helps answer the question, how do we take a larger project and organize it into smaller pieces that are easier to plan and manage? In our school portal example, the full project may feel big at first, but with a WBS, the team can break it down into major sections like portal design, login system, student dashboard, teacher dashboard, assignment module, testing, training, and deployment. Then each of those sections can be broken down further. For example, the assignment module may include assignment creation, file upload, submission, status tracking. So the WBS makes sure the work is visible and more manageable. Now, once we break the project into smaller pieces, planning becomes very easier. Now, if we look at the simple example of WBS, which is online learning portal implementation. So the first step is requirement gathering. So the student needs, teacher needs, the technical requirement, all of them will come here. Then we have portal design, for example, login design, dashboard design, assignment workflow design, everything will come in this portal design. Then we have testing, user authentication, lesson upload, assignment module, everything will come in under testing. And finally, we have training, functional testing, user testing, bug fixing. And then lastly, we have deployment, final launch, access distribution, and monitoring, all of will come under deployment. So that is all for simple WBS. So now that we are done with the previous module where we understood scope, deliverables, milestones, scope creep, and the work breakdown structure, moving ahead, we now come to something that can truly decide whether a project moves smoothly or starts struggling very early, and that is project planning. Because once a project scope is clear, the next big question is, how are we actually going to get this work done? Will it happen first, or what will happen next? Who will do what? How much time will it take, and what resources will be needed, and how much might it cost? So in this module, we'll understand why project planning is considered the foundation of success. What is a project plan actually is, what it includes, how schedules are created, how tasks and timelines are connected, how dependencies read what dependency mean, and how Gantt chart help how resources and budget planning works, and what common planning mistake beginners should avoid. So let us begin with the very first and most important idea, which is why project planning is the foundation of success. Basically, planning is what gives direction to the project before the actual pressure of execution begins. A project may have a great goal, a capable team, and a strong stakeholder support. But without planning, all of that can still run into confusion. Planning is what helps team move with clarity instead of guesswork. It helps answer practical questions that like what exactly needs to be done, by when, who will do it, what do we need before we can start, and what might go wrong. So basically, planning is not just a document making exercise. To make this module easy to understand, let us look at the relatable example and use it throughout. Now let us imagine a company wants to organize a 2-day customer conference for 500 attendees. The event will include speaker, session, branding, registration, food, venue setup, technology support, and post-event follow-up. Now, this is clearly a project. It has defined objective, a timeline, multiple stakeholders, limited resource, and a fixed end date. And because the event date cannot be shifted casually, planning becomes extremely important. If planning is weak, the event may still happen, but with stress, mistake, and poor experience. So this example will help us understand why planning really matters. Now, moving ahead, let us understand what is a project plan. In simple word, a project plan is a structured roadmap that explains how the project will be carried out. It is a document or working guide that brings together the major details of the project and shows how the team intends to move from the current stage to the final outcome. So basically, a project plan is not just a list of tasks, it is a complete picture of what will happen. So you can say it is like a project's operating map. If scope tells us what project include, then the project plan tells us how team will deliver it. So basically, the project plan helps everyone move with the same understanding. And moving ahead, let us understand the element of a project plan. A project plan can vary depending on size, type of project, but some core elements are very common. First, it includes a project objective or purpose. So everyone is clear on why the project exists. Then include the scope. After that, it usually includes tasks and activities, timeline, responsibility, resource need, budget assumptions, milestones, risk. So basically, the element of a project plan help convert a project from broad idea into a practical execution structure. And this matters a lot because when details remains only in people's hand, misunderstanding happen very easily. A written or clearly structured plan improve alignment and make tracking much easier. Now let us move to creating a project schedule. This is one of the most visible part of the project planning. A schedule tells us when the work will happen and in what sequence. In our conference example, the schedule might begin with defining event goals and dates, then move into venue, booking, speaker, outreach, registration setup, promotional activities, logistic planning, vendor coordination, final event day. So basically the schedule takes the project task and places them across the time. This takes us to the next topic, which is task, timeline and sequencing. Our project is made up of tasks and those tasks need time, but more importantly, they need order. In our conference project, confirm speaker is a task, finalize agenda is another task, and publish session schedule is another. This cannot always happen randomly. The session schedule depends on the speaker confirmation. Timeline tells us how long a task may take and by when it should be completed. Sequencing tells us which task should come first and which can happen later. For example, in the conference project, selecting a venue may need to happen before the detailed seating layouts are planned. Catering may need attendance estimates before the final numbers are confirmed. The event team may begin promotional work before all the small details are completed. Now let us go deeper into dependencies between tasks. So a dependency means one task relies on another in some way. In simple word, one thing may need to happen before another thing can begin. In our conference example, badge printing depends on attendee registration data. Venue layout planning may depend on knowing the type of session being held. Speaker travel booking depends on final speaker confirmation. So these are all dependencies. They matter a lot because if one important task gets delayed, the task connected to it may also get affected. This is where planning becomes very practical. Now let us move to introduction to Gantt chart. A Gantt chart is a visual way to show project tasks across a timeline. It helps teams see what the task is happening, when they are happening, how long will they take, and where they overlap. In our conference example, a Gantt chart could show venue booking in week 1, speaker outreach in week 2, agenda planning in week 3, and so on. So the benefits is it shows what tasks are happening and when. It helps track overlaps, dependencies and deadline, improve visibility and planning. So what are the benefits? The benefits are it shows what tasks are happening and when. It helps track overlaps, dependencies and deadline. It improves visibility and planning clarity. Now moving into resource planning basics. So resource planning ensures the necessary people, tools and materials are available for project work. The type of resource can include people, tool, material and budget. For example, in team members, vendors, stakeholders. In tools, software, equipment and platforms. In materials, event supplies, printed material, etc. And in budget, all of the financial resources will come under like cost, what will be required, will all come under budget. Now coming to resource allocation, which is assigning resources to the right task at the right time. Why it is important? Because it balances the workload and ensures that no one is overburdened. For example, the event coordinator may be responsible for vendor communication, while the design team handles the branding material. Now coming to planned versus actual cost. So planned cost is the estimated cost, like what the outlined is there in the project. Whereas the actual cost is the real cost which is incurred during project execution. What is the purpose? The purpose is for the planned cost, it provides a financial framework for the project, wherein in actual cost, it reflects the true cost. For example, the estimated cost could be $5,000, but the actual cost could be $6,500 due to higher than expected attendees. The impact could be help in budget and financial planning, whereas in actual cost, it helped access the accuracy of the initial estimate and identify areas for judgment. Now, the importance of realistic planning is the realistic planning takes into account available resource, constraint and uncertainties. So now coming to the benefits of the realistic planning, it prevents unnecessary pressure and confusion. And if we are realistic, if we are thinking in the right direction, it keeps the project on track even if the issue arises. For example, if the team overestimates the speed at which they can finalize the venue, the schedule may slip, causing stress later. So that is all for this module. Let us move to the next module. Now that we are done with the previous module where we understood planning, schedule, resource, budget and why realistic planning matters, moving ahead we now come to a topic that helps understand that how project work is actually organized and managed in real environment. Because by this point, we already know what a project manager does, how does the life cycle work, how scope is defined, and how planning supports execution. But now the next logical question becomes, what structure do team follow while managing all the work? Do all projects run in the same way? Do all teams follow the same method? Is one approach enough for every project? And this is exactly where this module begins. In this module, we will understand project management process and process thinking, why they matter, what process groups are, and how they relate to life cycle. How traditional and agile environment differ, when to use which approach, what hybrid project management look like, and what process tailoring means. Why flexibility is such an important part of modern project management. So let us begin with the very first question. What are project management process? So in simple word, project management process are the structural activity used to start, plan, execute, monitor, control, and close a project. They are the repeatable management action that help a team move from idea to outcome in an organized way. So basically, process are not random tasks. They are the management steps that help keep the project clear, controlled, and moving in the right direction. Now, PMI groups project management work into 5 common process groups, such as initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing. These process groups help team understand what type of management activity is happening at different points in the project. And why do process matter in managing projects? They matter because a project usually involves many moving parts: people, deadline, risk, communication, approval, resources, and stakeholder expectation. Now, without processes, team may still work hard, but their work can become inconsistent. One team may start too early without enough clarity. Another may skip planning. Another may fail to track changes properly. So basically, processes matter because they create discipline and consistency. They improve communication and reduce confusion. They provide a structured approach to managing resources and risk. Plus, also they help team move forward with alignment and direction. They enable better decision making and adaptability. So for example, without a process, a company might skip planning or fail to track changes, leading to project chaos. To make this module simple and realistic, let us take one relatable example which we will use throughout. Let us imagine a company wants to launch a new employee self-service HR portal. The portal should allow employees to log in, apply for leaves, download payslips, update personal details, and access HR policies. Now, this is a good example because it can be managed in more than one way. Some part of the work may be very clear from the beginning, while other part may need user feedback and improvement over time. So this example will help us understand why different approaches exist in project management. Now let us move to introduction of process group. Process group are the broad categories that organize project management work. They help us understand what kind of management effort is taking place. The 5 process group are initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and closing, as we discussed. Now coming to initiating is where the project is formally started and approved. Planning is where the team decide how the work will be done. Executing is where the planned work is carried out. Monitoring and controlling is where process is checked against the plan and corrective action is taken if needed. Closing is where the project or phase is formally completed. So basically, process group are management framework. They describe the kind of project management activity is happening around that work. Now this brings us to a very important concept, the relationship between life cycle and process group. These two terms are related, but they are not exactly the same. The process life cycle is a full journey of a project, goes through beginning to end. It tells us how the project moves through the stages or phases. The process group describes the management activity used to manage the journey. Basically, the life cycle tells where the project is in the overall path, while the process group tells us what type of management work is being done at that time. For example, during one life cycle phase, the project team may still be doing the planning, execution, and monitoring activity together. So these are not competing ideas. They work together. One explains the project journey and other explain how that journey is managed. Now let us move into predictive approach basic. A predictive approach is a way of managing project where team tries to define as much as possible at the beginning, scope, timeline, budget, deliverables, and major requirement, and then execute according to that plan. This approach works well when the requirements are fairly stable and the work can be forecast with reasonable confidence. This kind of approach is often seen in what people can call traditional project environment. In traditional environment, the expectation is that project will follow a clear sequence, define, plan, build, test, and deliver. This works especially well in situations where changes are expensive, regulations are strong, and documentation matters a lot. Or a stakeholder wants high predictability. So basically, predictive does not mean old-fashioned. It simply means the work is stable enough that detailed planning early on adds value to the reduced risk. Now let us move to agile approach. Agile is a way of managing work where teams deliver value in smaller increments, gather feedback regularly, and adapt as they move forward. Instead of trying to freeze everything at the beginning, Agile accepts that some learning will happen during the execution. So in our HR portal example, maybe the company knows it wants a self-service portal, but it is not fully sure which user experience employees will prefer, what dashboard layout will work best, or which features should be prioritized after the launch. In such a case, team may build and release smaller version first, gather user feedback, and improve the portal step by step. So basically, Agile is helpful when learning, feedback, and adaptation are important part of the project. Now let us understand traditional versus agile project environment. A traditional environment usually fits project where requirements are stable, approvals are formal, documentation is important, and the cost of change is high. An agile environment usually fits project where requirement may change, user feedback is valuable early, and team need quicker cycle of delivery and improvement. In our HR portal example, if the payroll and compliance parts of the system are fixed and heavily regulated, a traditional approach may work better there. But if the employee experience and portal dashboard need improvement based on the real user behavior, agile may work better for those parts. So basically, traditional and agile are not two different things, they are different environments suited to different type of work. This takes us naturally to the question when to use which approach. So use a predictive or more traditional approach when the project has clear requirement, fixed deliverables, limited expected change, and a strong need for control and documentation. Use agile when the work involves uncertainty, feedback-driven improvement, evolving needs, and value that can be delivered in smaller parts over time. Now let us talk about hybrid project management. Hybrid project management combines part of predictive and agile way of working. This is very realistic in modern organization because not all part of project behave in the same way. In our HR portal example, the company may use predictive planning for budget approval, security compliance, vendor contract, and finally roll out governance. But the product or development team may use agile iteration for interface design, feature testing, and employee experience improvement. So basically, hybrid means the team does not force the whole project into one style. Instead, it uses structured planning where stability is needed and iterative delivery where flexibility adds value. Now, coming to the next question, what is process tailoring? So process tailoring means adapting the project management approach, method, document, and level of control to fit the project instead of applying one standard method blindly. In simple word, tailoring means choosing what is appropriate for the project's actual situation. A small internal improvement project may not need the same level of documentation or control as a large enterprise transformation. So basically, tailoring is about making project management useful, practical, and proportional. It's not about removing discipline. It's about applying the right amount of discipline for the project in front of you. This is exactly why one method does not fit every project. Project differ in size, risk, industry, complexity, stakeholder needs, regulatory pressure, team maturity, and pace of change. A startup testing a new mobile app feature is not the same as hospital rolling out the patient record system. A small HR workflow improvement is not the same as national infrastructure program. Now let us make tailoring more practical by looking at tailoring based on project size. If the project is small and low risk, the team may use simple documentation and faster coordination. If the project is in regulated industry like healthcare, banking, or public services, the team may need stronger documentation, approval, and compliance check. If the team is experienced and cross-functional, agile collaboration may work well. If the team is new, distributed, or heavily dependent on external vendors, more structured coordination may be needed. If the project is technically or operationally complex, the team may need stronger planning, risk management, and review point. So basically, tailoring means looking at the project and honestly asking what level of process, speed, structure, and flexibility does the project need. So this was all for this particular module. Let us move to our final module, which is the project closure. Now that we have covered the foundational aspect of the project management, including understanding what projects are, the role of project manager, the project life cycle, scope management, planning, and different project management approaches, we are moving forward to the final module of this course. This module is crucial because many beginners mistakenly believe that once the main work is done, the project is automatically finished. However, this is not how real project management works. A project is only true complete when it is properly closed. And this is what we are exactly going to focus on this module. We will explore what project closure is, why it is important, the process of final deliverables handover, why sign-off and approval matters, what closure documentation includes, how project outcomes are reviewed, how success is measured, and why lessons learned are essential. We will also discuss knowledge transfer and how it's benefit the organization after the project ends. What is a project closure? Project closure is the final stage of project where the work is formally completed, accepted, documented, and handed over. It is structured ending of the project where the team confirms that all agreed upon the work has been delivered, stakeholders have already reviewed it, and final records are completed. This ensures the project doesn't just stop but is formally concluded with the clarity and accountability. Now, why closing a project matters? Project closure matters because without it, confusion often remains even after the main work is done. Team may not know whether the project is officially completed and tasks may remain unfinished but unnoticed. Closure ensures the project ends smoothly by making sure the ownership of the deliverables is clear, support teams are ready, and any remaining tasks are tracked. Poor closure creates weak endings which reduce the long-term value of the project. Without closure, the organization might struggle with the project outcomes. Now, for example, in a project that creates a new employee training portal, the handover isn't just sending a link to the portal. It involves ensuring the receiving team understands the system, has access to the necessary material, knows how to use the feature, and is ready for ongoing management. A successful handover means the deliverable is not only complete, but also usable and sustainable. Now, coming to final deliverable handover, which means formally transferring the final output to the people who will use it. Now, it is not just about giving access, it includes readiness, understanding, and usability. For example, HR team receives the admin access, or IT team supports get troubleshooting steps, or learning team gets content upload guidance. Now, coming to documentation and closure reports. Now, a closure documentation creates an official record of the project. It may include summary of deliverables which are already completed, final approvals and sign-off, budget and schedule summary, handover status, minor unresolved issues or lesson learned, and key records for future. Now, reviewing outcomes and measuring success. Now, once the project is completed, then comes the project completion versus success. Now, project completion does not always mean the project will succeed. The key question asked is, did the project achieve the purpose? Did it solve the original problem? Did the user receive value from it? Now, the measuring success could be ensuring all agreed upon project deliverables are completed, comparing actual project time and the cost with the planned estimate. Now, stakeholder satisfaction, assessing whether stakeholders are satisfied with the project result and the outcomes. Usability and quality, measuring the ease of use and overall quality of the final product. Business value created, now evaluating how much business value was generated by the project. And finally, user adoption, whether users are satisfied or not, determining the level of user adoption and engagement with the product or the service. Now, once the project is completed, the final is what well went and what could be improved. Now, good stakeholder alignment, smooth HR and IT collaboration, successful pilot testing, and positive user feedback could be the result of what went well. But now, what could be improved? If the team is taking a lot of time to make the project, delayed content preparation, underestimated training needs, late admin permission clarification. And now coming to why this even matter. Now, understanding success and area for improvement help refine future projects, ensuring better planning, execution, and stakeholder satisfaction. Now coming to one of the most important question, which is knowledge transfer and handover and why it matters. Now knowledge transfer makes sure that receiving team can manage the deliverable after project closure. This may include user manuals, admin guides, technical notes, troubleshooting steps, access details, vendor contact, escalation process, and maintenance instructions. Now coming to the conclusion. So the project closure is not just the end of work, it is a final stage where the project is accepted, documented, reviewed, learned from, and handed over. Now project closure is not just about finishing the work, it is about ensuring that project ends in a structured and accountable way with clear ownership, proper documentation, and valuable insight for future projects. So this was all for this particular course. See you in the next video. By the end of this course, you should have a clear understanding of how project management works in a real life. The biggest takeaway is that project management is not just about completing tasks. It's about managing scope, time, cost, quality, people, communication, and risk in a planned way. We also understood that a project manager plays a key role in connecting team, tracking progress, solving problems, and ensuring that the project meets its objective. Another important takeaway is the project lifecycle, which shows how every project moves through different stages from start to finish. We also learned that clear scope, goals, and deliverables help avoid confusion and keep the project focused. Finally, this course helps learners understand that successful project depends on proper planning, smooth execution, continuous monitoring, and choosing the right project management methodology. So this was all for this particular course. See you in the next one.